So to date, my healthcare data is distributed amongst many silos. I've got a GP record, I've been to various hospitals, public and private. I also have a range of wearables and private tests that I've had done. And all this data is distributed across the whole health ecosystem. And it's very difficult for me to access that even at an individual organisation level, never mind universally across all of it. And if I can't access it, I certainly can't share it very easily. And when it is shared, it's often shared in parts. So for example, my GP might get a discharge summary from my hospital when I've had care, but they don't get the whole record. And so my information is losing fidelity as it moves around the system, and perhaps most importantly, it's not always there when I need it. So for example, when I've been into A&E, the doctor has told me, I don't have your record, so it'd be easier to admit you or repeat an x-ray. And these are things that I've actually been told. And this leads to a huge amount of inefficiency in itself. It's bad for patients, but also it stifles innovation. If the data isn't available or it's locked away in silos, how can we possibly innovate and do interesting things with this data? So when we talk about patient-centred today, we do a lot of good work and we put the patient at the centre of what we do. But what we often experience of patients is a lot of things going on around us. I can't see that diagram very well. But my data is getting passed around me. It's not necessarily getting given back to me. So I don't feel in control, I certainly don't feel empowered, and often I'm forgetting information or I don't have access to it all. I don't feel in control. But amongst all this complexity, there's one thing that we've perhaps forgotten with all this investment in interoperability and infrastructure, is that there is a single universal constant in the healthcare system, and that's me, it's you, it's the individual, it's the patient. And if we just gave back the data to the individual, everyone would then have a complete copy of their own health record. So this is what I call patient centricity, giving data back to the individual. So what does this mean? Well, it means that as I move around the healthcare system, whether I'm seeing a GP, a public or a private hospital, I'm now building up a longitudinal care record. Everything that the health service does today can carry on as before, but now they're just giving me a copy, so I have a longitudinal record. So the next time I go into hospital, they may have shared some or none of my data, but if they don't have some information, I can present that to them. So now I'm entering into an explicit value exchange with the hospital. I'm sharing my data for healthcare. So there's an immediate transparency and control there. So we start to build better relationships and trust with healthcare organisations and with our healthcare professionals. And if one of the major problems today is that data isn't available and that impacts efficiency and quality, etc., then surely now, by having the data, those problems go away or start to go away. And if I have the data myself as an individual, industry can now come to me instead of having to deal with that complex landscape. Therefore, they can innovate around me, provide apps, services, or whatever it is directly to me. But what's also interesting about this is if I now own and control my data, I get greater privacy and security and control of my data. So for example, no longer do I have to share all my data into the cloud to get a service. The processing can come closer to me. So as a simple example, if I have a personal secure library with all my health record or all my data, whether it's social, banking or whatever else, if an organisation gives me a health app, I can then use that health app against my personal library but not expose any of that data to the outside world. It stays on my device, on my personal infrastructure. However, if I did want to share something back with the healthcare organisation, maybe it's my insurer or someone else, I could just share the results instead of all my data. That doesn't stop me from sharing all my data if I want to, but the point is we get greater control and flexibility in terms of privacy. Not only this though, there's a huge range of benefits, and I'm not expecting you to read all this, there won't be any questions afterwards, don't worry about it. But what we're doing is enabling a whole range of benefits across the entire ecosystem. So we're empowering patients, we're engaging them in their healthcare, and that's good for outcomes. We're making healthcare more effective and we're improving communication, we're improving population health, and perhaps most importantly for the future, we're enabling innovation and research. So patient centricity. It's about empowering the individual to own and control their data. I'd like everyone to go away with that message and talk to people about it. Ask your healthcare professionals, how are you going to empower me with my data? Everyone, or most people, have a legal right to their data. And in order to enable patient centricity, there is only one thing that we need to do, and that is give data back to the individual. And if every healthcare organisation does that, we improve the whole healthcare landscape. And again, I would encourage you to go and talk about this with your healthcare professionals or organisations that you're linked to. So just by doing what is right for patients, giving them their data back, we can start to solve many of the problems of today. And we can also start to realise a whole world of benefits around the whole healthcare in a healthcare ecosystem. And I think the most important thing that is we can actually deliver this today. So it's all possible today. And DigiMe are doing this now around the world.